Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Green here, back with another Borderlands 3 build video, and today I'll be going over my TROO MAYLAY Zane build. That's right, TROO MAYLAY Zane, actual punching. This is a very off-meta build, and very much just for fun and to see if I could do it with all the weird tech Zane can do. Zane does not boost melee damage at all, and this is basically just using gear to boost your punching damage. Any other Vault Hunter can do melee better, but I just wanted to see if I could do it on Zane, and I wanted to. This build uses the Unleash the Dragon artifact and throws as much damage formula as possible to double dip and deal at least decent amount of damage to kill enemies. The main place I play this is in Proving Ground, Slaughter Shaft, and Scaled Malon Takedown. I have done Scaled Guardian Takedown, and it was so painful I wish it on no one. It took like 2 hours. Even though this build is very gear specific, the farm for this gear isn't actually that bad, making it easy to set up for a fun time. I will have the gameplay explanation at the end of the video because it is very important if you want to do this right. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The save file will be found in my Discord, which is linked down below, and I hope you guys enjoy. Could use high health breaker anoint 150 over 90, but because we're using barrier with the turn shield, a lot of times if you have a shielded enemy, that 150 over 90 is going to go away, and then you're just not going to have a good time. You may be wondering why we're not using something like a Psycho Stabber. This 500 up to 500% B2 damage will go into the Unleash the Dragon. So the melee damage, but just at the base hit, it'll apply and not in the second source of damage. Now when you're punching, you're not going to get much. Once you run away from the enemy, that damage is going to scale up a lot. Doesn't make it impossible to use the Psycho Stabber, and you definitely can. Technically optimal is using a 150 over 90 Psycho Stabber and then swapping to the Guardian Angel, but we're swapping so much already here, it's not really worth doing it. And then we have the Zep's Eruption. You're going to want one, any element works. I'd say not cryo because you could accidentally freeze yourself, with the Terror Health Regen Anointment. Now, the Zep's Eruption does a debuff that also will double dip into it. And now I should explain double dipping. If you're watching this kind of build, you might know it, but it just kind of means you get damage formula twice. So, I'll go over that with Unleash the Dragon, but double dipping is what that kind of means in the simple terms, is you get damage formula twice into your source of damage, which is really dumb. So we have this gear debuff going, which is multiplicative with other debuffs like the skill tree and guardian rank debuff, which is really nice. So we have that going. It can stack up to 200% at 20% per pellet. So you have 8 pellets homing every reload, and you can just swap to it and then swap away. And we just have the health regen anointment because we don't have a that good way of healing. These projectiles can activate salvation, as they are counted as bullets. So you have that, but while you're reloading, you don't have anything healing you. So having that health regen is just really nice to have since we're already using Terror, and nothing else really helps here. Then we have a face puncher here. If this is your fight for your life damage, you can punch enemies and get the fight for your life, have enough damage for that, but face puncher is just really easy way to do it, but I don't really use it for anything else. I have URAD here, but it doesn't really matter too much to anointment, I don't think. I mean, you're not trying to get Unleash the Dragon with a face puncher, it's really just raw damage. Since we already have melee boost, we are getting stuff for the face puncher already, which is nice. Then we have the Butcher here. I use this with Terror Ammo Regen, and this must be cryo in ×3. Ideally, you want it with as much magazine size as possible. The damage does not matter. Now, we use this while aiming down sights with Armand Flint to instantly freeze enemies. Frozen enemies take a 300% molt to melee damage, which will then help Unleash the Dragon, so that base damage for the Unleash the Dragon dot is just an increase by 300%. So it's just so big. And the Butcher already has like return ammo, but ammo regen just kind of helps you, makes sure you're not ever reloading. And since I don't have too much reload speed, that's really nice. And we're swapping so much that it's hard to make sure that you swap to this and it's got enough ammo. So it's really just a good safety net. And then for the shield, you're gonna want something with melee damage parts. Now the main thing I like to go is the Brawler Ward. This is 300% melee damage while depleted, as well as 4% health, max health regen, which is honestly really nice. Definitely underrated. So this is great for survivability, so that's nice. I also like to use the red suit. If I'm up in enemies' faces, usually tankier enemies, I will constantly be swapping with the eruption to get one big hit, and it's easier to do that if I'm swapping. And this double dip is for Unleash the Dragon is going to be a lot more useful than 120% more melee damage, especially when we've got like over 100% melee damage already elsewhere, and you're going to be farming for these and not do this build without them. No real reason to not swap to this. You just want to make sure you have double Roid on this, or it's not worth it. I have tried using an old god, and I tried to do some quick math. That's not really good, but I used this with like an executor. I'm not sure if the executor boosts the Unleash the Dragon dot as well, because I never tested that because I've never needed to, because Unleash the Dragon dot's weird. I tried old god, wasn't as good. Is it a good option? Yeah, but you can just easily farm a Brawler Ward. I do have Frozen Heart here, but we already have easy freezing, so there's no use having a Frozen Heart here, and it's just better to have the Brawler Ward. You just want it for the anointment. You're going to want any grenade with terror, damage, and fire rate. This is V1 damage up to 35%. And honestly, the fire rate also technically helps for the Butcher for shooting faster to freeze, but we mainly use it for the V1 damage because we have it nowhere else. This is going to double dip in Unleash the Dragon and just be a huge damage multiplier for us. And that's why we use ASC apply on our shield, just to get this, and then these other anoints are just kind of nice. And then what you're going to want is an infiltrator, any infiltrator with melee damage. Action skill damage mainly. The skill rolls don't matter. Getting some movement speed from Supersonic Man is nice. Getting stuff like a Ghost points is pretty nice for bullets, but it doesn't really matter. Get some violent momentum points to boost Face Puncher if you have like a ranged enemy that you just can't hit, or in Fight for Your Life, get some gun damage there. Really just that. I have max health here, just trying to min max, but it truly does not matter. I've got health regen here, action skill damage. There's nothing much. It's really just any infiltrator with melee damage and maybe action skill cooldown rate, since we won't have topped off, but we still got a good amount of cooldown, which is nice. And then the whole thing that makes this build possible, the Unleash the Dragon. I tried Static Charge and White Elephant, and it did nowhere near as good as Unleash the Dragon. The double dip here and consistency is just so good. The Static Charge and White Elephant also double dip, they're just not as powerful, and they just aren't as consistent. So we got Unleash the Dragon here. It's really easy to get a melee damage and incendiary one, so you want to farm for that. No reason not to have those rolls on it, and it's 100% worth it. So the Unleash the Dragon double dips. And what is double dipping? It's damage formula applied twice. So you have the melee formula going with melee damage, V1, V2, debuff, frozen enemies, bunch of stuff, and then it goes into the Unleash the Dragon dot damage formula, which isn't exactly dot, but the stuff it gets is like the debuff V1, V2, doesn't get frozen enemies, doesn't get melee damage, it gets incendiary damage, elemental damage. You're getting like these damage bonuses applied twice. The debuff, so the debuff from the Zephyr's Eruption, the V2 from the Guardian Angel, the V1 from the It's Piss, or just any grenade. You've got debuff from No Way Out applying twice. You've got debuff from Harmageddon right here applying twice. So it's just crazy. There's a lot of items in BL3 that does this as well. This is like the only item. And this is a big thing on why some stuff just does so much damage. Now, because this is Zane, this doesn't deal a lot of damage. You're maybe dealing like 4 mil to 50 at most. It really depends on how much work you're doing. And that is not a lot in BL3 terms. There is nothing else here that works well. Now, I do want to go over, if you're as crazy as me and want to try Guardian Takedown, you can just completely ignore the crystal phase. You throw in a Frozen Heart with Action Skill Start. You throw in a Mesmer, low level, with on Action Skill Start, Grenade. And then you throw on a Shock Raider. You'll want to try 3 points in Pocketful Grenades. Duct Tape mod is very good for this. I don't have any duct tape mods, but you could take one, which we'll go over later. And then you want Grenade Capacity and maybe Grenade Radius. Honestly, just Grenade Capacity works with 3 in Pocketful of Grenades. Action Skill cooldowns there just to spam Action Skill more since we're using Frozen Heart. Mesmer, you don't even need the Frozen Heart, but it's just such an easy grab. And then you just want something with area effect damage like this Cut Purse. I could also use Splash Radius on here instead of Action Skill cooldown rate, but you've got area effect damage, Grenade Radius, Splash Radius, Grenade Capacity. It's just like you never have to kill an enemy. It's really hard to kill enemies in Guardian Takedown, and it's very slow, so you are never beating crystals without this kind of tech. It's really easy, just thought I'd bring it up because that's how I did it. Alright, so the skill tree is really weird. We'll start in Blue Tree here. We've got 5 refined speed to move to get to the enemies quicker than melee. We've got Cold Bore. Since we're constantly swapping, Cold Bore is super important. We don't go Violent Momentum because we don't need it. Technically, it would help fight for your life damage with the Face Puncher. If you play smart, you'll never really go down much. And even if you do, you'll deal enough damage because this is lower tier content anyways. So we go 4 points into Salvation. We go 4 points because the stuff that we're dealing damage with isn't doing as much. We got the Butcher with not max damage. We don't have a lot of gun damage going into this. We still do have good damage formulas, so it is possible for it to deal enough. Also got the Zephyrs Eruption with Salvation. So having 4 points is good, and it gets down the tree with the 1 point in Seeing Red. With Mantis, keeps up our kill skills. Violent Violence don't really need, it's really just for the Butcher. As well as technically shooting the Guardian Angel can get some points, get some stuff out of Kick a Combo, but it's so low, I don't think it's actually doing anything. Like this part of Guardian Angel is max fire rate and max magazine size. Don't think it's doing much. So this could literally be put in Reload Seed or Violent Momentum if you wanted to. Playing Dirty never does anything. Then we go 3 points into Good Misfortune. Since we're using Barrier, this helps a lot. We don't go Death Falls Close because it doesn't really help with anything at all. Just some quality life stuff. Doesn't help with damage. We're not using Executor, so if we got that status effect damage, it wouldn't help there. Yeah, we just don't go Death Falls Close, and we just go 3 here. Technically only need 1, so you could take 1 out. It would just mean potentially less barrier uptime. Really, you could just go 2 out of 3 and put a point into Duct Tape mod if you wanted to, but it's really not needed, and it would just be for some splash immunity, which still isn't going to do much because you're still going to have like Elemental Zephyrs Eruption because you're not going to go Cryo or you're going to get slowed down. And you still want to go max level Zephyrs Eruption because of Salvation, and we still go max level Butcher because of Salvation. That's really the main reason I don't go Duct Tape mod. May as well go over here, just 5 points in Borrowed Time to get longer action skill duration for Barrier. We don't go down here. Instead, we go down in Green and Purple Tree. Green Tree, all about survivability. This is survivability, besides the Turns Field, which is actually pretty cool. So we've got Adrenaline going just for action skill cooldown rate. Since we're using the Infiltrator, don't need this Ready for Action. It doesn't help you at all. It hurts. I only have 1 point in Brain Freeze since I'm already auto freezing. If it's hard to hit a crit and you're just shooting without aiming down sights, taking points from Stiff Upper Lip into Brain Freeze is worth it. But I'm usually ADSing and able to hit stuff. And then we have Stiff Upper Lip. Not doing too much, but it's there for some damage resistance. 16% is nothing. Rise to the Occasion is huge. Our shield is always broken, so we're always having this 5% max health regen, which is just really good. Max health is a lot better than missing health. Missing health is still good, just not as good when you start to reach closer to full health, while max health is consistent. Distributed denial is just here because if we go down, we'll get the buff from while depleted for a duration. It doesn't really help since we're already gonna have a depleted shield while in fight for your life, so it's just a 1-pointer, why not? And then we get really expensive jacket just to help with survivability. Especially we have a fire dot on us because we only have health, that's gonna hurt a lot. So cutting that duration in half is gonna be huge. And then the big thing we're down here is barrier. We're going up and meleeing enemies. We're not having constant lifesteal going. So having this is big. We have all-rounder protecting us from everywhere. And we have the turn skill to stop melee enemies from getting to us. And this also turns your melee to shock damage. It doesn't tell you that, but your melee will deal shock damage. So if you have enemies with top shock bar, this is really nice. Now you have to be careful because the turns field can strip that shield right away. If you have armor bar, it's less good. If you have a big health with armor, you'll want to unequip this. Nothing else here really matters. So you just unequip it and just have all-rounder. Honestly, pretty cool. It just turns the shock, which is just another great thing about going down here. Then we go to the purple tree. This is to get all the way down to arm and flint. We're still going down here for other stuff, but getting arm and flint is really cool. Doing all this stuff means we don't get refreshment. Calm Cool Collected could work on some stuff, but we got Infiltrator, so it's not going to happen much, and refreshment's not really needed if I'm constantly swapping from something that'll proc Salvation and have Butcher proccing Salvation as well. And you can just shoot your gun. You can shoot the Guardian Angel. It's got slow projectiles, so it's kind of harder, but it'll proc Salvation. So in Purple Tree, max mana focus. This is for Butcher going and aiming. Renegade for the max health regen. Deja Vu is not doing anything. Crit damage is not doing anything. We're not critting. Well, at least our damage source isn't critting. Total Vision for better accuracy and handling for the Butcher for freezing. Commitment for the action skill cooldown rate. Especially good since we don't have topped off going ever active. And then we have Fugitive so we can shoot and sprint. This is very important with the Butcher. Then we got Domino Effect, Fire Rate, and Reload Speed, mainly the Fire Rate. We don't want Reload Speed because that makes the animation faster with Zeps's Eruption, but getting the Fire Rate is just really nice. There's also not really anything else to get. Then we have Sheer Will for the cooldown. 15% cooldown rate only affects Mantis Cannon. The stacks do not affect Mantis Cannon, while the stacks and the base will affect Barrier, which is just really nice. Where Barrier goes down, we got a lot of potential stuff, and we're gonna be critting a good amount from Butcher and occasionally from Zeps's Eruption projectiles naturally critting. And then Arm and Flint for freezing with Cryo Weapon for that 300% boost, just absolutely huge. And if you're lucky, you have Shock Mantis. If you hit a crit, it might kill an enemy with the dot. And then for the Mantis augments, we have No Way Out. This is a debuff that is only additive here with Armageddon. Let me get it up. Armageddon. Enemies take 5% damage per unique status effect affecting them. It's usually just, I don't know if Unleash Your Dragon counts for it. It would be Unleash Your Dragon, Zephyr, and Butcher. Potentially shock damage. So you'd have like 15 or 20% plus a 25%. So that's just doubling that damage category right there. So that's just really good. It does decrease cooldown even more, which sucks, but it's worth it than going over anything else. Again, if you're crazy enough to do Guardian Takedown, during crystals, you're going to want to unequip this so you don't drag enemies in. It doesn't really matter where else, I guess, Colder Shoulder. And then we have Proliferations, just so we have more charges to activate Infiltrator to break our Brawler Ward, and just to keep our kill skills up. And then because we want to keep our shield broken, and we're using an Infiltrator, we turn off Shield Reboot, and we turn off Emergency Response. Alright, so for this build, the gameplay loop is you want to make sure you have barrier active. You want to activate your mantis cannon to break your shield and start stacking parry. Now, if you want to make sure Zep's eruption is broken, I already have mine broken, your butcher ready. And so what you're going to do is, I'll usually just swap and get some debuff going, and then I'll swap to my butcher, shoot and freeze the enemy here, swap back to this to get some more debuff, and then I will punch the enemy and just run away. Depending on the content, you may need to step back and go like one enemy at a time. It depends on the enemy and the content. Some tougher enemies may need to make sure I get maximum bonus, others don't. And then you just go back to freezing, swap to this for reload, and then you go and punch them, and go like that. Now when you actually go up and melee an enemy, it won't do this melee animation, unfortunately. It'll kind of do like a little elbow bump, which you'll see in the gameplay. But yeah, that's how you do this.